They're afraid help. Okay, the freight check won't help, and they are, but you can't really tell. Looking at you with my steely gaze, and I'm asking you, my listener, or if but you're the city or perhaps the sheriff, and I'm saying, what is your authority? And that is the question that Americans should be. We have in our country today the fruit of lawless government. The biggest crooks, if you want to use a word, I know that's offensive language, but the biggest crooks in the country are in government. They are not they're not private criminals. Private criminals surely exist. They run Ponzi schemes. They run banks. You know, they do things that deprive the people, often duplicitously, of their values, their valuables. And there's open fraud. There are scams. There are schemes. There are phishing expeditions online against your bank account number or against your credit card details. So there is private crime. Some of it's domestic. Some of it comes from Yugoslavia. You know, the Serbian hacker gang, or maybe at some points near Pyongyang, you might have a hacker. Those hackers, though, are really interested in government finagling, government attacks here, not private game. But there is private crime. But as I analyze free markets and local economy here in Chattanooga and Hamilton County, I think that perhaps the proofs of my assertion are there, that it is the government, that is to say, the civil authority, that is acting outside the law. And I've given notice of what the law says on an important point to the city council, and that was just recently, and that was on the 20th of February, and I gave the county the fruit of my reporting in the law on the 1st of March. Now that was to one branch of the county, that would be the executive branch through the law enforcement agency, Jim Hammond, seeking the most important and powerful man in the county, seeking re-election. His opponent in the Democratic side is a cop, Victor Miller, who was a detective, or maybe is a detective, and was a spokesman for that Mayor Burke department in the police of police. So I've told both parties that most directly affect you, my listener, being in Hamilton County, what the law says, and it says it makes a distinction which is ignored by policy in law enforcement and in policing by policy. So the questions I have asked of both sides is this: state your authority. And you are on notice of what the law says. Okay, so and that there's some reasons about notice. Notice is what the journalist does, right? The journalist is publishing reports all the time. For example, this morning I published a report at yournews.com. You go down to the bottom of the page at yournews.com for Chattanooga and read my brief discussion about the Chattanooga Code that gives authority for the regulation of transportation. And also, I'd say it's kind of a muddled claim that there is authority to tax private pleasure cars. All right, you say, so what? What are you talking about? Well, what I'm talking about is that you have a liberty that policing and the executive state, the deep state in Tennessee, combines to obliterate, to pretend it does not exist, and that is the distinction between transportation and travel. And for not because I intend it, I've become something of the local expert on this legal question. And that is because I've spent hours and hours and hours doing my favorite thing, my pastime, reading the law. I think I missed my calling. And when I was a young man, very handsome, young blonde fellow, I did take the LSAT, the law SAT, and just bombed on it. I do badly on standardized tests. I got into UT English department, even though my standardized test score on that was just abysmal. But the dean took me as a graduate student because I had come from the University of Virginia, and she thought somehow that was important. So that was valuable. So I worked on a master's degree there, getting in by reputation of my former university, not because I did well on the test. But I missed my calling in law by God's good grace, and I'm not churning up trouble using the law to do it, which is what the barristers of our county do. They use the law as a machinery for generating cash flow and conflict, and not telling you what you need to know. But I'm not bound by having to make a living on the law, and so I can tell you plainly what the law is. You and the sheriff and city council. That was February 20, and go to yournews.com and read about that. You'll have to go down past the international news section, all the Trump reports, and so on, to get to local. And yournews.com for Chattanooga. That's our website, yournews.com. And there you'll read about what I find this morning in the Tennessee, in the Chattanooga city ordinance, and also about my report to city council. Now, this is a certified delivery of notice, which means now that there's trouble. There's trouble for administration. Just because I'm telling them what the law says. That's all this is. It takes 20 pages to get through it. Yes, it's single space. I do break the monotony with a few 18-point headlines throughout these pages, but it is a simple review of all the applicable law with the definitions. And the definitions of driver, for example, of drive, of motor vehicle, of operate, are all of them commercial. In other words, they are words that describe the for-profit activity of people using the public road, right? The road owned by the people, and they're using it for their own gain, their own prosperity, their own capital, their own cash flow, their own profit. That's called transportation. They are involved in commerce. They're subject to Title 49 of the U.S. Code, which is the federal transportation statute. The feds control everything. Once Nashville takes that first green rectangle from the good people in Washington, they're bound to obey, and they do. They scrupulously do. Well, not quite scrupulously, but they do. And I even have a copy, which I haven't yet passed along to you through yournews.com, a copy of the covenant between the state of Tennessee and our great white fathers in the great White House in Washington. Yeah, there's that agreement there. And so we're bound by the good people in Washington. Nashville, its hands are tied. Its hands are tied. And we can be glad that its hands are tied, because the law binds everybody's hands. And notice to the city and notice to the county bring to the individual state actor, the deputy, and the officer, right? The notice of the law. And what I have proposed to the sheriff, and what I propose, I haven't done the detail work yet with the city, with Wade Hinton. I probably should send him a letter, is to say, well, you need to care for your officers, right? Because now they're all personally liable for the law. Now that the law has been given in abstract form, in summary form, in a non-argumentative, notice is not an argument. It simply is, there's no argument at all in this document. I withheld my mouth, right? I zipped my lip in this document, simply reporting faithfully what the law says, how it applies, and what the words mean, right? The definitions, myriad definitions from Black's, and innumerable, well, not innumerable, but many, let's say dozens, maybe about 40 court cases, Tennessee court cases going back to 1915, and on making the distinction between transportation and travel. So there is that bit of news that has gone out, and I'm providing a public service. That's what journalism is. Journalism at 92.7 FM. Journalism has a high calling, a high duty, and that's what I'm here to do for you, my listener. I do thank you for joining us here. My name is David Tulis. David Tulis, the editor of yournews.com. Yournews.com here in Chattanooga, and with a great platform. And do think about being a sponsor of my show, the David Tulis Show, every morning at 9 o'clock here at 95.3 FM HD4. That's high definition, channel 4. Oh, man, that's so wonderful. I love digital, high definition. I clear my throat, and you can hear it. You can hear in that high def, you can hear the Adam's apple bobbing up and down in its moist environment, right? In my lower throat. You can hear it. It's so rich. It's so deep. HD, high def. That's only on the HD channel, though. But mainly, you can catch me at 92.7 FM, the regular FM for the regular people, right? Not the specialists with their special radios in their new cars and their boom boxes, but this is a regular 92.7, covering local economy and the free market. The man with the bow tie. What is bow tie saying today? Well, I guess that's important for other people to ask, but my question is, what do you have to say today? And it's 800-8949, 800-8949. And I do thank you for tuning into the show. We are brought to you by yournews.com, yournews.com for the Chattanooga area, serving Chattanooga, bringing news, bringing notice of the law and of the limits, really, of the law. That is what I do. And I'm wanting to just mention a couple things now, just in the way of news. I have a news stack that just goes off the desk. It's just so big, my pile is about to tip over onto our well-worn carpet here in our studio room at Nooga Radio. Uber Eats to launch in Chattanooga on Thursday. That's it came out a few days ago on the 8th at Chattanooga.com, down in the dining section. And more, there'll be menus, speedy delivery from menus at 70 restaurants, including Terminal Brew House, Beast and Barrel, Gastro Smokehouse, El Primo, which El Primo always seems to be closed. I just can't ever get in there without finding that the doors are locked. Champy's Chicken, the Bitter Alibi, and Puckett's. Most of those are local outfits. And there's another one also opening in today's news report, and that's waiter with a missing letter, missing vowel. Waiter is a word with 3 vowels, but this one drops the E. So it's W-A-I-T-R, which I think it's Nooga.com is reporting is hiring a couple hundred people. And there is more. And there's a story picked up by Tom Humphrey, who's provides me a great service, by the way. And here we're seeing how the press, the print press, is being you might say eaten alive by the digital players who are online. And Tom Humphrey is a former Knoxville journalist, and he just does a lot of cut and pasting. He gets reports from the press that gets the story, and will do a cut and paste into his email, give you a live link, of course, borrowing a good bit of the story. And then sending it out in email. So I get dozens of emails every day, maybe 15, 20 emails a day from Tom Humphrey. Report on guns in TN schools running at double national average. And it's from the Times Free Press. And that's what he does. He has about, let's see, 2, 4, about 9 paragraphs from the story with a link. Of course, the link is essential so that he can give credit and that you, the reader of that email, can find out more. And so I get these. There's another one. Christian conservative leader has legislators scuttle bill banning child marriage, and that is a report about David Fowler. Also, TFP coverage. I get the TFP, by the way, in print. I get the print edition, and bring it up to my mother, my neighbor, in the morning. And I have breakfast with her. So that's what I do in the morning. She's 94 years old, the old soul who doesn't remember much. She's never quite sure what she's doing that day. She doesn't know that, well, we have breakfast together every morning, and except for one day of the week, I'm not there. And I give her the Times Free Press. Sometimes I steal the section from her. Today, I stole from my mother. This is a wrong, right? A petty crime, if you will. I took from her notice the region section and of the paper. See, I have the print copy of the Times Free Press here. So I support my local paper, and I do that because I want the newsroom to be. They're serving me with local news. I need local news. I'm a writer. I provide local news too, and I do that at yournews.com. And that's, of course, Nooga Radio, yournews.com. But I want my news sources, and I get the paper. I'm a simple person. I'm a very simple person. I like the Wall Street Journal. in print. I get that too. I let Marianne, the Swiss federal congressman's daughter, get it first, and I always look at it afterwards. I get it a day late, but here I took from her the region section, thinking that she won't notice. Right, she won't notice that I ripped out the front of the region page, and then the jump page, which was on the bottom there on page B4, the jump on the Bradley County Sheriff's debate and the attack on by a self-styled Christian group of the sheriffs taking inmates to worship God on his day, and they're making hay of it. It's just so cheap. It's just cheap political rhetoric by people. If they're claiming to be Christians and making these statements, they better know what the Bible says, and they better know that that the Bible forbids prisons. Prisons are outlawed in the Bible. If you're a Christian, your God forbids prisons, and he calls prisons anti-Christian. All right, prisons are anti-God. By definition, they're anti-God because he makes no provision for them in his law. So that's news. And I don't think I've quite gotten off my mind, off my chest, the point about David Roddy. David Roddy, and you can defend him if you want to at 800-8949, 800-8949. He wants to ban panhandling in a broader for all of Chattanooga. He wants to have total jurisdiction over panhandling through the ordinance, right? He wants the ordinance to be expanded and has requested the city council expand the claims of the current ordinance, which favors just the touristy areas of Chattanooga. So in other words, as it is now, people who are local are the ones who are supposed to help the panhandlers, right? Support the panhandlers, believe their tearful stories, and give a $1 or $2 or $5, or take that panhandler to a restaurant and buy him lunch. Okay, that's when I'm approached by a panhandler, that's what I do. Mr. Ballinger downtown has hit me up a couple of times for lunch. Once I bought him lunch at Five Guys, and I did not buy myself lunch there. I was about to go home for dinner. I would have loved to have spoiled Jeanette's dinner with a Five Guys hamburger and fries, right? But Mr. Ballinger did enjoy his meal. That's what I do. And the rules as they're now laid out would have visitors to Chattanooga, tourists, be protected from these petitions and these requests for alms, and thereby making these poor people go elsewhere to hit up local people. Well, there's a problem with this perspective that Chief Wright has. He's trying to protect us. He wants police power to be aimed against the poor. He wants to criminalize poverty in a new area, in a broader, much broader, a 30, 40x, 50x broader jurisdiction that he has now. And what he's assuming, though, is this, that you, my listener, can't deal with a beggar, that you, my listener, have to be protected from some man who might be tapping at your window at a stoplight, who may insist twice that, can you give me some money? Hey, can you spare $2? He wants to protect, he wants there to be able to, there to be a cause of complaint filed with his department so that he might arrest a poor person, arrest that poor person, put that poor person in jail. That poor person may have a mental problem, right? Many poor people do. And now we want to clog an already overclogged county jail with more people who can't pay their way out. They can't pay the $50 fine. Why do we think that policing and abusive policing is going to solve that problem? That's a problem that is outside the qualifications of policing. Policing can't deal with it. That is a problem that individuals have to deal with. And that would be people like you, people of gracious intent, people like you who will take a homeless person somewhere to eat, or give that person some money. Yes, these are people who are begging, and yes, it may hurt your feelings. But we don't need your protection, David Roddy. David Roddy, just go and grow your beard. We don't need your protection. We don't need your help. We live in a city. It's a rough and tumble place. Cities are places where you meet new people. We have rough encounters occasionally where construction workers make catcalls to women who pass by. That actually happens in Chattanooga every now and then, more so in big cities like New York, but it does happen. It's a city. We want diversity and excitement.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD.